Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen being held in the Townhouse Auditorium on January 22nd, 2024. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any minutes?
We do not.
Oh, is anyone else recording the meeting besides us? Dalton. Okay, thank you, Dalton.
Dalton's on the ball today.
He's right on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. The first order of business is to rescind the vote for the Board of Selectmen as interim cemetery commissioners. We've checked with town council. They said it's the best thing to do is rescind that vote. And we have some people that are interested in taking over that role, at least for a couple of months. And so I would entertain a motion to rescind the vote taken, what was the date of that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I hate to give up that position, but
I saw you out there with the shovel. You did a great job.
thank you. According to Chapter 41, Section 11, we're required to post 7 days' notice about this, and we have done that. And so we have two individuals who are interested, or have at least been, let me say, arm twisted into it. Joan Shea and former selectman Dwayne Mosier, who agreed to take over. It's usually a 3-member board, so if anyone else is interested in helping out the town, at least for a few months on this board, we'd really appreciate you applying. Joan, want to come up for a minute?
That's right.
Joan Shea.
Very active.
No, pretty busy with that heart spring thing.
I'm telling you, it's doing good.
She's got the satellite office and everything.
Heart
And the garage is full.
Oh, again,
Oh, my God.
Tell us a little about yourself.
my name is Joan Shea, lived in Hampden since 1967. My kids went to school in Hampden. I retired early from Mass Mutual with a package, and then I went to work for the funeral home, Hayfie Funeral Home, where I spent the next 23 years. And so I visited a lot of cemeteries. And now I'm home doing Friends of the Senior Center. I'm vice president of that. And my fundraiser is the bin for Heart Springs. And I'm also on the Friends of the Library. And we do fundraisers for them. That keeps me busy. So this, someone recommended me for this little position to fill in, so here I am.
Thank you for stepping up.
Thank you,
We just rewind and say a very successful Heart Springs collection.
thank you.
So you're looking to do this interim until the next election?
That's right,
Okay.
that's right.
So explain to her that the election's in May, but we just need someone to fill in now, that there's technically no burials in this time of year.
Anyhow.
So most of the things would be if someone wants to purchase a plot or has some question or something like that. And one of the things we have to do is hire a clerk for that as well.
Oh, you didn't get
We
one.
didn't get one yet, no.
So if you have a 2-member board, you can start the search. Now that you've learned what it's like to have your arm twisted, you can do the same thing.
Except this person gets paid and you don't.
Yes, exactly.
So Dwayne is not here, but he's interested.
Yeah, former selectman. And
I'll make a motion to appoint Joan Shea and Dwayne Mosier to the Cemetery Commission for a term ending the town election 2024.
Second.
any further discussion? All in
Last chance,
favor?
Joan.
You're in.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joan.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One comment. The commission can choose its clerk, but the clerks must fit in with the town's grade and step HR system.
Okay,
And you need to,
Get your information.
and you need to get sworn,
Okay.
you need to get sworn
And you
in,
need to get sworn in.
sworn in by Eva.
by Eva, she's tonight?
I didn't see her down there tonight.
Yeah,
Catch her in the hallway.
Now, do they need Bob to schedule the first meeting so they can elect a chair? Or appoint a chair?
probably should do that.
Want to suggest a date? I mean, when is a convenient time?
With Dwayne and I don't know what his schedule is. I guess maybe I'd have to check with him
Right.
Okay, if you could let me know, it can be scheduled for any time.
anytime.
Doesn't necessarily have to be in the evening.
Okay, okay. Let me check with Dwayne, because I don't know what his schedule is. And then I'll let you know. Okay. And we meet here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're Melville.
Just meet in Melville.
Upstairs?
We have an office downstairs.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh.
nice.
Whole office, okay,
There's an
Get you a
office
key.
upstairs.
okay, all
Got a
right.
window and everything.
Got a kitchen, really nice.
Boy, might live here, thank you.
Pretty soon she'll be storing some of the hearts.
That's a thought. Thank you, okay.
Thanks, Joan.
Thank you. Okay, we did that. Next item on our agenda is Parks and Recreation requesting a change in a wage increase for one, please. Okay.
Yes.
I've got a presentation here.
Anyway, so Dan Blanchard, Parks and Rec Director, Carrie Joseph, Chair of the Board. Thank you for putting us on the agenda tonight. I don't know if you had a chance to review the deck that I gave to Bob, but if you did, hopefully we can keep it short and sweet. We're here to discuss Steve Bennett for a promotion/raise. And I think I'll start off, if I can, by a quick story. I don't know if you know how Steve got hired with us, but Steve came to one of our meetings in 2021 and was really concerned about the condition of the Memorial Park. And so he came to one of our meetings, and the board, the commission had a discussion with him, and they actually ended up hiring him. I believe it was on the spot, Carrie, or was
Pretty
it?
much. I mean, he said if he was going to complain, he wanted to offer a solution.
Yeah.
So his solution was he would take on the position and take care of the parks for
Yeah,
us.
and so this just shows,
There was no,
Is that the position Marty used to do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
so,
That's our motto here in town. If you're gonna complain, we're putting you to work.
So he came with a solution, and that was that he would help us out, and
and it's been
it
a
was
great.
only just going to be for the season, but he ended up enjoying it, I assume, because he's still coming back. And then he talked to Mark Lee and got Mark to also help.
So Steve has been like an exemplary employee since they've had him on in 2021. Never complains, never says no. Just does it all with a smile on his face. He cares. You can just tell he cares about the community. So, and he's always done this and all of this stuff, and he does tons of work above his job description and such. And he never asks for anything. He doesn't know this is coming. He never asked for anything. It's just something that we think he sort of deserves.
Who's going to read about it in the paper?
No, I'll have him in the office before it gets going, hopefully this week or next week, if you guys can get us approved. But, so I don't like to read slide decks. I just want to go over some of the brief highlights of it. Steve is underpaid compared to his peers. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. He's doing much more than his job description. And Steve is in an interesting situation. He was hired in 2021 before we did the Collins report. And his position, he was making $16.42 when he was hired, and his position was graded at a grade 1, which was $14.72. So he has not received any step increases since that time. He wouldn't be scheduled to get one for 6 years from now. So it's just not a great way to go about, keeping spirits up. Steve is a great employee, and we want to retain him. Some of the benefits of creating this new position / promoting Steve to maintenance supervisor from just the current maintenance role is that this will position us better. Steve's not going to be here forever, and this will position us better for if we need to hire in the future for this role. It'll make it a lot smoother process. As you guys know, it's difficult to hire for town positions, so I think it sets us up a little bit better for that. The other thing I'd like maybe a little help with tonight, or advice or recommendation, is like Steve's in an interesting situation. He's a seasonal employee, but somehow his job fell under the Collins report and it was graded. So if we can keep him as seasonal, then we can, the Parks and Rec Commission can try to decide his, what his wage should be, or if he falls under the Collins report, we have an idea of where we'd like him to fall. So if we just look at the comparable wages in town, this is really the crux of the matter. If the police station custodian is making $21.25, and Steve is currently at $17.73. The police station custodian is making $21.25 an hour. The senior center custodian is at $23.52 an hour, and both are grade 2s.
There's longevity there, too. Senior center custodian has been there 18 years.
Okay,
So he's far past the step thing, so.
fair enough, but even their positions were graded at a 2. And, in my eyes, I'm not trying to, lessen anybody's position or anything, but Steve, in my eyes, does a lot more than just a custodian. And for example, the highway department's seasonal lawn care at $25 an hour, Steve does lawn care and everything else. Maintenance to the heavy equipment, maintenance to the tools, all of the lawn care. He coordinates with projects for repairing Memorial Park. He just does so much for us. And just another frame of reference, our seasonal gym attendants make $20 an hour.
Steve also doesn't just do the park, he also does work at TWB with lining the fields and maintaining things over at TWB. So he's in 2 locations.
Yeah, he's really our head maintenance guy for anything that we need for the park. He's our go-to guy. He changes the sign over at the intersection. He really does everything for us. I just put the current wage matrix up there so you can see it as a quick frame of reference. Another quick thing I want to cover is budget impact. I'm trying to get this done before we meet with the advisory committee for this budget season. If possible, I'd like to get it in for his start in spring work, which is March.
Next slide, or no?
Next slide, yeah, sorry. A budget impact. One more, Bob.
That's right.
Yeah, so if we were to put this raise in now for the start of Steve's spring work, the Parks and Rec Department for this position would still come in approximately $2,200 under budget for the fiscal year 2024, so it's not gonna have any impact on this year's budget. We'll still be under. For 2025, the budget for this position would go up $1,800, which includes the COLA for the position.
Well, there is no COLA yet, you know that, right?
Right.
You're proposing a COLA, what number are you using?
For my budget projections, I use last year's number of 4.
Okay, I think did advisory ask them not to do that? I believe they did. In your budget, I don't know if you submit.
I don't know if I haven't seen that, but I can check back.
At the big meeting we all were at in this room, I know Doug said, submit your numbers, do not add a COLA to your salaries.
Not yet, no.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'll take that, it's simple, delete that out of the spreadsheet, but that's fine.
I mean, it'll be the same applied to everybody, it's simple math.
Right, okay, yep.
What would it be then without that proposed COLA?
I don't have that number exactly, but what I'll tell you is we've done some projecting as to that number of hours that Steve is working for us, and we've been able to be a lot more accurate that we've over budgeted hours for him for the last couple of years. So we've tightened that up quite a bit in order to make this, and we still have put a buffer in there so that we don't go over, but we've really tightened up those hours, the projected hours that he's gonna work and the maintenance staff is gonna work. So that's why we can keep it lower.
How many of those, how many do you project?
For hours, I believe it's like 850 from 965.
Starting,
Well, that would be for fiscal year, for a full year, yeah. So it really has minimal impact on the Parks and Rec budget.
Is there a quick question?
Yeah.
Don, is there a number when something is called part-time versus full-time? Would you say an
I
hourly?
think it's 20 hours.
20 hours.
No, not on a weekly. You said he's got a number of 850 for a year,
Oh,
you know? So I'm wondering if you talked before about the position being
Well,
called part-time.
Well, it's seasonal, yeah.
I wonder if there's a definition based on the number of hours you put in. Tough to say.
Okay, well,
I think the question is more like, does he work every week?
he doesn't. So he takes, he works through November and then he comes back in March.
Right.
So he really truly is seasonal. Which is kind of where we get in this gray area with the position.
I mean, 850 hours times, divided by 2 weeks in a year, it's 16 hours a week.
But he works
And we actually have employees that work that.
I'm just trying to think of
2 weeks.
he doesn't work
He
50.
probably works about 30 hours a week on average, and then, so he's off for 4 months of the time. I don't have my calculator or computer in front of me, but, so that's what it comes out to. I can show you more details on the numbers on the budget if you'd like to see, but.
One quick question, you talked about when you talk about the Collins report and you looked at other towns,
I did not look at, I've just looked at our Collins report.
okay, so do you have a sense of like, in other communities, is this position graded higher? Equity is,
I have not, that's a good point, I have not done that research, I can certainly do that. But I feel like a maintenance, I have done, so when I put together the job description, I pulled other job descriptions of maintenance supervisors, of parks supervisors, and that's why I kind of compiled, so I don't know if this job description needs to go out to the Collins report. I was kind of hoping to avoid that, to try to get this done so it didn't have to be regraded. But I have not looked at, comparable, they're over $20 an hour. I don't have physical hard numbers for you, but most parks supervisors are making over $20 an hour, for sure, from other job descriptions that I've seen.
And under the Collins plan, every employee is entitled to ask the selectmen once a year to review their grade.
And Steve has not asked for that, this is just us doing it for him, but.
well, and I would make the point, not to jump in, Don, that I would agree with your option to change the grade on it. I would say I'm not comfortable with the change of the step, though. Because the step, to me, I believe our thing was based on longevity.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for anything, it would be a lateral move, I would think. You want to take them from a 1 to a 2, but not move them up 3 steps at the same time.
Oh,
I
that's
don't see how that works out when we think the steps are based on.
longevity. Okay, well then I would have to alter, I would like to look for, at least, he's got to be over $20 an hour. So then I'd have to go grade 3, step 1.
17.
Well, if you look at him now, based on his current salary, he's a grade 1, step 6.
Yes,
Because they chose to hire a number and fit it into the equation.
Right, so would a lateral step be?
well, the treasurer has him at a grade 1, step 3. And so, and that's because, there's the COLAs in there, there's, what other factors in there
He has not
that's brought him
received a
up.
step increase.
He's never seen a step increase, but they have him at a step that, Dick said he's at, we have Steve at, grade 1, step 3. Mr. Bennett is now at step 3 from longevity.
They have him at grade 1, step 3?
Yep. That's what he's in the system as.
Makes sense, because he was hired 2-3 years ago, right?
Right, yep. But he was hired
At a higher.
he was hired at a higher level than his job was graded at. And that's where we run into a little bit of a problem. His salary is just not, comparable to other comparable jobs in town. It's not. It's well below where it really should be.
And how many years has he been working with the Parks Department now?
Since 2021
Be third
September.
year.
So 3 years.
Yep.
And you had Marty for like 3 years or 2 years?
Marty had left when I came onto the board. So we had a few years where we didn't really have anybody, that we were filling in and piecemealing,
Yeah.
and that didn't go very well. So that's when Steve stepped up.
Right.
And the board is okay, the board is in favor of this? Okay.
Yes, we have talked about it at several of our meetings and are in favor of it.
It's really not going to be helpful for you guys to see there, but I just did I just put up the old and the new job descriptions that I created, just so you could kind of see the difference between the two. There's obviously a lot more supervisory, there's budgeting in here, which Steve does now. He tells us what he needs for supplies for the year, and we get that for him. The knowledge that he has on repair, he repairs the truck from time to time, he changes the oil on the truck. He just does so much more than what the original Parks and Maintenance groundkeeper job description shows. One more down, Bob.
Does his employment meet the definition of a seasonal employee, or is?
Yes.
Or a part-time?
It does. He's seasonal.
But he works year-round, right?
Right? at that point.
So if he,
Seasonal is when you have time off during the year.
Yeah.
Part-time is when you work less than 20 hours. But you may be in the offices, or you may be working 4 days a week.
if he's seasonal, then how did his position get graded?
I don't know. That's a puzzle, because we did not ask Collins to grade
That one.
seasonals.
Okay.
And I think, if
not
I
sure.
remember correctly, and you guys would know more than me, but I think when we hired Steve, the Collins report hadn't fully come out yet.
No, it was in fiscal '22, and he was hired in '21.
So
but it
things
could-
were in the
it could-
process
it's
of
probably right
coming,
around
and
the
that's
time.
why the pay grade was off to begin with, is also the board was under different information at the time.
I guess, Don, one of the things would be, if he's a seasonal employee, it doesn't fall under it. Is it basically their job to ask for a sum of money and figure out what it takes to do the job? For basically a contract employee to do that seasonal work?
Yeah, I just don't know if it's,
Does he fit in the Collins, is what you're trying to figure out,
Right.
does he even belong on there?
yeah,
That's really, that's part of the reason I'm here,
Right.
too, is to,
I don't think it belongs, that position doesn't belong on there, but I'm wondering under the,
that would also, if he was outside of the Collins report, it would also solve the not problem, but we wouldn't have to jump him 2 grades to get him to where we want to be. Because we talked, the commissioner and I talked about it, and we figured like around 2050 would be a nice bump for him. It would be appreciated, it would help retain him, and, that's why I had him, that's why originally we were asking, I didn't know if we could ask for steps, but we did grade 2, step 6 to try to get him to that approximately 2050 an hour.
So if it falls outside of the Collins, it's up to the board to decide his pay
That's what I'm
scale.
wondering. Yeah, we don't have any, if that's your hiring thing and you found somebody to do the job and here's your job description and you have
Right.
money for it.
Okay.
Which is what I think,
I think
that's
you
why.
consider it outside the Collins.
Okay.
We do that for other seasons.
And then next year, when you come in with your budget, you're gonna say, look, we
It'll
have
be
this
a-
employee, we're gonna need more,
A line
you
item.
make a case.
Yep, okay, perfect, yep.
Do we need to do anything since,
I don't think so. Oh, sorry.
I think they're looking for,
no, I mean, do we need to do anything with the Collins? Because it's,
I'll need to take it off the count, vote
Yeah.
to take it off the Collins.
well, I think we say the Collins report is for a full-time parks maintenance person. We do not have that position.
Right,
okay, if that's the
Because
case,
some places probably do.
yeah.
So that's not one of
Many
ours.
places
we have a
don't.
seasonal
So
person.
I would say it's not under our purview, and
Okay,
Mr. Bennett for his help.
super, thank you, that's kind of, it was kind of one or the other, I was kind of, that's what I was kind of hoping for. So thank you for your help on that, and then,
Does that go, can that go into effect right away?
yeah. That was
Like
gonna
for
be
the
my
pay,
follow-up.
like, how would that work? Because
It's
we
your
also
budget,
have to
right?
let,
Yeah, it fits.
It's your budget, your money, if you could fit in there,
who lets Dick know
I can do that.
that this was the decision?
I've already had a lot of talks with Dick about this, so he's aware, and,
I just didn't know
oh,
if it
if he
needed to
needs
come
approval, yeah.
from the board.
I would say Bob can
Selectmen.
share that with
yeah.
you.
I'd always,
Saying-
your board would need to vote on the rates,
Right,
and then you task the director to follow through.
Perfect, we have a meeting tomorrow.
right.
Awesome. All right,
do.
thank you guys very much, that's great, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming
Oh,
in.
we made somebody happy.
We're here every Monday, just want to stop by.
And I will, don't, you may regret that.
So,
Thank you, guys.
We also have security.
You want to be a cemetery commissioner? Ask him now. Strong guy, he can.
You have to talk to the commission over there, and see if you want to be taking.
I'm on
cemetery.
the master plan.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
No, back.
The next item we have on our agenda is an appointment to a vacancy on the Annual Oversight Committee. Ida?
Well, thanks to Donna, who's very convincing, since I threw you under the bus on you. I'm Ida Gilday. I've lived in Hampden since 1978. I'm a registered nurse, also a certified pediatric nurse practitioner. I've been employed by Bay State since 1971. I retired in 2015, but I'm still working in the ER. I'm working tomorrow. When Donna and I spoke, I have a passion. I think it's very, very important that our town, although it's a town and a little town, it's vital for the people in this town to have a good support system as far as emergency medical services. So when she spoke to me, I deliberated and I said, oh, I don't know, I babysit, I work, blah, 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 blah. And then she called again and she said, just think it over before you give me an answer. And the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? I'll do it. I'll try it. So here I am.
You said you're in the ER?
I work in the emergency room at Bay State.
You see the ambulances come and go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Donna, do we have a vacancy right now on the committee?
Yes, we do.
And who had resigned?
Heather,
Heather. And when was that? 'Cause I don't remember, and I may have seen the email, but I
I
don't.
think it was last July,
Okay, and she submitted that to the town clerk,
town administrator.
administrator? And did the clerk sign off on that? Do we know?
If it's an appointed position, it's the elected go through the clerk. The appointed positions would be the town administrator.
Okay.
Or whatever.
It was just odd that we didn't have it on our list of, we sent that, put a paper, and ad in the paper, and didn't have it as an open spot. And it wasn't on the town website as a opening. So,
I remember the
But we're
discussions, though, that
fortunate.
was Heather, right? Was
Well, I don't know about that, but
So as as I was looking at the next meeting for this quarter, it was like, oh yeah, we have a vacancy. So I spoke with Don and we found Ida.
Have you been to the committee meetings at all?
no, no.
Not appointed.
Well, I don't know, see what check out or something like that. I know you can't review them on Zoom. I'm not sure if
No,
there's
I
any-
haven't.
any minutes posted or anything.
I haven't. I didn't even know there was such a committee for the town.
When's your next meeting, Donna?
Right now, I'm looking at February 20, but I need to make sure we have a quorum.
Nobody else is going to resign, right? That you know?
I know of.
Okay.
Not. We usually consistently have 3 people, sometimes 4 show up.
Well, if you're lucky, you can get sworn in tonight.
Yeah, that's right here.
She's already done one, she's geared up.
What's the term length for the committee? Is it
It's undetermined, right?
is it undetermined? Did we never determine the length, right? Is it just
It's
until?
undetermined,
Bob can check his.
We didn't set up terms.
Okay.
We just assumed it was lifetime.
Perfect, you're in.
Report on
I'll make a motion to appoint Ida Gilday to the Ambulance Oversight Committee,
an undetermined time.
effective as soon as Eva swears her in tonight.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Eva, we're earning your money tonight. Take the
Eva and
chair.
Ida.
I do solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform all the duties imposed upon you by your appointment in the Ambulance Committee of the Town of Hampden, according to the laws of the Commonwealth and with the best of your ability.
I do.
She didn't even read that, you know?
How's that?
It's all there.
Very much. I hope I can do well.
All right, now we have a lengthy discussion coming up. The tree warden.
Really? So soon? Dana,
You missed your chance, that's it, next.
don't give him that option.
What's that?
He said you missed your chance next, and like, don't give him that option.
That's all right. If you have, I figure I got the rest of the night, right? 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, sure.
You embrace it, don't you? Pictures of all the trees. Bob, can you bring up the slideshow?
Not with me, yeah.
Need drone work?
I asked to have you come in just to talk about, hey, haven't seen you in a couple of years, seemed like we had that big spate of getting rid of dead trees.
We did.
Anything we should be aware of going forward, or?
I don't think so. I think things are winding down pretty well. I got a bunch of numbers together. If you were interested in them, you probably aren't, but I mean, you go back 4 to the 5th year, we were in the neighborhood of 50 trees a year roughly that we would take down. That represented a fair average amount for the tree warden. Then we came into the dieback of the gypsy moth and all that, and we were, the last few years was, as you know, was horrible. I mean, we got an extra $100,000 appropriated by the town taxpayers. Then the 3rd year, we got $100,000 from the state. And that helped, with the removal of those trees, but we jumped from roughly 50, 60, 70 trees a year to 300, between 300 and 400 trees a year. So those years were, they were a lot of work to get those done. We got them I think we're in good shape. The numbers dropped last year to in the 70s, and this year we're back down to where we should be, around 50 trees a year.
Have the utilities been a big help?
They've been somewhat of a help, not a big help.
No different.
Not really any different than it was before, and theirs is all, their removals that they're willing to do is to improve the liability of their sections of the grid that have the population behind them. So you take side streets in Hampden, you know, where we had our highest mortality was Chapin Road, North Road, Glendale, and those roads. They didn't have a big concern about that. I mean, they looked to re-energize the Hendricks Loop, which originally went from Route 20 down Main Street in Wilbraham, Wilbraham Road in Hampden, over to Munson to Route 32 and back out to Route 20. So now they've improved that loop a little bit where they're focusing on that. But so it's all numbers to them. So, I mean, you could have some dangerous town trees, which I've pointed out to them, and sometimes they help and sometimes they don't. But if they're looking at taking down a town tree that's going to improve the reliability of a certain couple of circuits of Chapin Road, it's going to fall low on their priority list. You're going to end up waiting. We're going to end up doing it ourselves if we want it done. You could have something like a hospital that's on private property, but because those people in there are residents, that's a huge number of people that are restored in power, regardless if it's hospitals would have priority anyways, but say it was a housing for the elderly or something. So they're going to focus on those areas. So we get some things out of them. The communication isn't great with them. Zachary Hickey is our new arborist for National Grid. He took Lance Wade's place, who got promoted. Did you know Lance Wade? You probably met with him. So it's hard to get anything definitive out of them, like, what are you gonna do, when are you gonna do it, which, you know, I'm trying to figure out. If you're not gonna do it, then I'm gonna end up spending town money to get rid of a hazard. We had one recently on the bottom of the S-curves on North Munson Road where Lambert lives. And there was 2 oak trees that had tipped. The root plate was starting to tip. It got caught up in a maple tree across the street. And if it wasn't for that maple tree, it would have come down. And as a priority issue, traffic coming from Munson into Hampden is coming down that straightaway past Bennett into Hampden. They hit the S-curves, and if that tree came down, it was going to block the road. I think you could have had a serious accident there. So I pointed it out. I didn't get much of a response, and then next thing I know, a resident called and said, "Hey, I'm glad you got that tree out of there." It's like, I didn't even know the tree came down. So they don't communicate very well.
There seems to be an increase, you know, we have an increase in high-capacity lines, obviously because of the solar farms. Would those lines have a higher priority in their mind, though?
I don't know. It would probably depend on who's getting the benefit of the solar system. You know, if they are,
Right.
it would probably go higher on their list. I haven't heard anything relative to solar systems having an impact on it. And I know that they're stretched. I mean, because they've got so many private trees that they're working on, never mind the municipal trees, that they know pose a hazard to the reliability of their circuits. So they're gonna.
This last storm, I had one go down in our yard on the lines. And I called him, and the guy came out and he cut it off the line, and that was it.
It's still there, right?
It's still there.
It used to be a normal road, but now
You're all
that
set.
Yeah.
you know, the three-phase.
Power's on.
I wonder if they would make that a higher priority.
I would think it would have to do with whose benefit is those solar farms, you know, who's benefiting from them. If it's private, you know, I don't know if Stanley is benefiting there, or does he sell it to the grid, or how it goes, you know? But that hasn't really come up in my conversations with them. So we're kind of flowing back to the normal, which is good. And
How's your budget for this year?
we're gonna have enough money this year, yeah. As a matter of fact, last year was the first time in many years, probably 5 or 6 years, that we were able to do any stump grinding, which typically we'd like to, on residential stumps that are on their lawns, you know, if it's a town tree, we'd like to go in and grind the stump down, and then the highway department, it's up to them to, you know, clean it, loam it, and seed it, which Mark is good about that. But we didn't do any of the stumps for years. And now, last year, we did 20 stumps. And if you blow them all out in one day, it's not a lot of money, but it's just money we never had before. And the people like it because it's only in a lawn area. So some of us have trees down in a lawn area that I plan on grinding, and highway will clean them up. So it's a nice benefit to the taxpayers to be able to give them, take care of something like that. But we're really catching up on the trees that, you know, are putting the power lines and traffic in jeopardy. So I think
The last couple storms we had, I think we fared pretty good. I mean, I think we had some come down, but you listening to other communities, I think they had far more severity in their downed trees.
I can tell you what, anytime the three of you are driving around, or Bob as well, you go to any other town and consider 12 feet off the paved surface is roughly your town bound in most cases. I mean, it varies depending on what subdivisions and what the zoning bylaws were at the time. And if you know, were, you know, pre-existing stone walls that were like that, you know, there's a lot of variables that your town widths aren't always the same. But generally speaking, if you're looking at trees that are within 10 feet of the pavement edge, they're town trees, generally speaking. You can go through any other town and just start to take a look, go slow. I don't know how they're not doing anything with the trees. There's a ton of them everywhere, and we got a good handle on most of them. My concern now is that if we get all the town trees under control, there's a lot of private trees. Now, once you go private, we've talked about this a few years ago, if you go private, the town has certain rights. We can certainly trim anything over the town's right of way. You can do that. You can put money into trimming a private tree if it's going to impact the public safety. But you can also put private people on notice about their tree. And there's a way to do that that makes them responsible for any costs incurred if it's personal injury or property damage. It's the same with you and your neighbor next door, or the town and their neighbors as abutters. So you can do that. It's probably not something anybody's anxious to get into because there's hundreds of those trees.
Right, but you're trying to be proactive. I mean, I go up North Road and I'm stunned through the S-curves. I look at some of those trees going, my gosh, they're right on the road.
You go up, yeah, you go up past Young's old place.
Sure.
I mean, everything over the wall, it's got a certain, you know, hazard to the road. Most of those are gonna fall to the west because of the prevailing winds and whatnot, but.
You mentioned over the wall too. I think that goes back to what you had said before. There's that old bylaw. Right away, you know, wall was like a property boundary in the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases.
Even though it's close to the center line of the street, it's over the wall.
And there's some
property
walls that they put the, you know,
Pre-existing.
People have had it surveyed, and I've met with the surveyors, and sometimes the pin is in the middle of the wall, so we ran into that problem up at Glendale Road. Remember, just past Ridge Road? We had a lawsuit against the town, which we prevailed, but we took the dead tree down, and the property owner claimed it was his tree. Well, it was a tree in the middle of the wall. So we ended up working that out, but it changes. There's a different. Take care.
Thank you.
So anyways, I think all in all, we're in pretty good shape.
Dana, does the colder or warmer winter impact the gypsy moth population?
I know the gypsy moths has kind of gone by. I don't know if you guys glanced at the town report that I had just submitted, but like every other year, I'll go to the tree wardens conference. It's 2 days, and there's a lot to learn from it. But the second year or every other year is probably enough times to go to that kind of thing. But
It's in Hawaii. It's really nice.
yeah, it's in Hawaii, AKA Sturbridge. But they have updated all kinds of things. Like, for example, the ridiculous things that some people focus on is that they've changed the name of the gypsy moth now. It's no longer gypsy moth because you can't talk negatively about gypsies. So now it's the spongy moth. That's the new term.
What's it called?
Spongy moth. But that is kind of a thing of the past. I mean, those, as they migrated from east to west, they came through Brimfield, Wales, Munson, Holland. They were decimated. They got into Hampden, but they basically only made it as far as our town hall. We had a few die off on the west side of town, but Chapin Road, Glendale, and those roads were creamed by the dieback from those. But they had an early demise. They got
that fungus, right?
They got a fungus in that, and they died off before they laid their eggs, and so it kind of stopped it right in their track. But there's a lot of other. I mean, the speaker from UMass Shade Tree Lab was there, and he had a lot to say about a lot of things. But there's all kinds of things. So what I took away from it was you can have the Spanish lanternfly, you can have the emerald ash borer, you can have the, there's a whole bunch of them, and there's really nothing you can do about it. They're transmitted, they spread because of, birds, they pick up the egg, travel it all over the place. So there's not a lot you can do about it. It's good to know. They claim that one of our things coming at us now is going to be a dieback of our maple trees, the sugar maples in New England. It's going to start to die.
I noticed this year with all the rain we had, my maples dropped early.
Yeah, they did.
Just because of how saturated the water.
So, I mean, from our perspective, you deal with what you get handed. If you have dead trees, you try to take care of them and you try to keep everybody safe, but there's not much you're going to do. And you can't, you wouldn't even be able to afford, even privately, if you have trees sprayed, if they treat them, there is treatments for them. You can do injections into the cambium layer of the tree and put something in there that'll take care of the infestation of that bug under the bark. But, that's expensive, companies do it. But.
So budget-wise this year, we'll level fund the budget, then we have a contract for your number as well, with the normal raise every year, basically.
Yeah, which I don't know what you're looking at this year for that, but I don't see.
Do we have a current contract, or?
He doesn't
We
have
had
a
one for a
contract.
while, and then I'm not sure. We just kept going up
He
every
doesn't
year,
have a
basically.
contract.
Renewed.
We just kept,
Yeah,
We had one,
we
and
just
then we
kept
just
giving
didn't.
them money.
Right.
Not enough of it.
2%.
Free wood, free wood.
Did.
Yeah.
But I don't see any need to increase the budget. I mean, I would level fund it. One of the things that I'm coming up against with the money that I have left, and there's only, I'm down to right now maybe less than 20 trees. I've got crews working tomorrow and the next day. And once I get those trees done, there's going to be a few trees that have been on a tickler list that people have asked about. Maybe the crown of the tree's got some dead wood in it, and we might try to get those down while we have the money to do it, so that if we had an impact next year, at least those trees would be out of the way. But one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about is our landfill area. Now, I don't know how much we talked about it the last time, but with a restriction of area to the landfill that's open for both my use and Mark's use at Highway, it's closed in, and it's closed in to a point that I don't have much room up there to spare. I mean, you can go up there and take a look at it. They've put roads in around the solar farms, and nowhere's near the square footage that we had in the past to use. So when we get into, if we got into another huge dieback like we had and generated tons of wood waste and tons of wood chips, these companies, the quicker they fill a truck and get rid of it, the quicker they can get back to work on the town's dime. So you want that available to them to be able to dump. There's like almost no room up there.
No more storage space.
No more storage space. Now, there is some right now because our numbers have dropped. But then you go look at the wood waste pile up there, which I like to try to keep it stocked with wood that the residents like.
Mhm.
I mean, they were pretty aggressive about cutting firewood. There's a big number of people that were up there on Saturdays with log splitters and saws, and people were being generally pretty safe, or I would have said something about it, but I think they are. But now the pile has gotten so out of control, and we've got some wood up there I've had them stack it high and put the big pieces on top, because somebody's going to get hurt if they're crawling up on that wood pile. So even though we have a sign that says free public wood, there's nobody taking it, because you've got 36-inch sugar maples on top of it, and nobody wants that wood. They want the gravy, they want the wood that's easy to cut and split. So whatever I have left in the budget is going to go towards wood waste removal. I got to get those piles out of the dump. And then if we get it down low, then we can perhaps start to fund them taking the big ugly wood that nobody wants, take it over to Rocky Mountain, where you're paying $20 a yard to get rid of the wood. So you're going to be paying over $1,000 for a truckload to be dumped there. Now he's got to break it all down, split it, and either chip it or put it through a processor or whatever he has. But that's got the potential to be a pretty significant expense to the town. So I want to get that pile under control, and then maybe start to manage the removal of the wood that I know nobody wants, take it out and get rid of it right then and there. Leave the wood that's good for firewood and let the people take it. But the pile's out of control right now. We haven't removed any wood, and as a matter of fact, I couldn't even get anybody to remove it. I think I called 5 or 6 different log companies. They don't want to touch it. They're all busy with private work, and I only want to pay the hourly rate for the truck and then the tipping fee at Rocky Mountain. You can go to Connecticut Waste, but that's further away, so you're paying a bigger trucking fee and about the same price for tipping.
The debris and the
That
wood,
town bonfire you wanted done is that time.
of the debris and wood that you're getting rid of, would you say a lot of it's not usable for firewood or anything like that? Or is it just pretty much rotted, or would it some of?
No, it's not a lot of it is rotted, but there's all kinds of wood up there. I mean, a lot of that wood now that we're trying to save the money for removals, we're putting everything up there. So we're putting pine up there, things that aren't good firewood, you know?
Is there anybody in town that would want to take it? To use it for anything?
Take like the pine or whatnot?
I don't know. I'm thinking, would anybody want
They're
to?
already cherry picking the good stuff, you're saying,
The
right?
people at the dump take the good stuff. If I have, and I have had, as we segregate that load into the big stuff that nobody really wants, and we're left with things that are good, some people, like the guy that helped plant the trees on Main Street for the garden club there, Mike Fedora, I've given him and a number of people log loads. But we go back to when you give somebody some wood, protecting the town, you want to make sure that they have a disclosure that they're not going to hold the town liable. So we don't go in there if it's on a paved driveway or a lawn or anything, because you never know who's going to come back at you. I could cite you a case you probably remember on Oak Knoll. So that was one that you don't want to get into those situations, you know? So if I can give it to people that I know, and there's a number of them that'll take it. Some people with outdoor furnaces will even take some of the pine. But you have to make sure that you can get in and get out without doing any damage, leave it, and that they know that they're gonna keep what they take. So I do get rid of a lot of it that way, but a lot of those people are done with it, you know? Some of them will still take it, some of them won't. I pretty much know who they are. And so if I get something that's a good load of wood, I could call them and they'll probably take it, and that's a tipping fee, so. So we're working, we work with that on a case by case, so to speak. So other than that, there's, like I say, there's a whole host of things we could talk about, but for the most part, I think you probably just want to get me out of here, and that's fine with me. Or if you want to stay till midnight, I'll stay till midnight.
Well, I want to talk about the trees on Chapin, but that's fine. That's good.
Thank you.
I don't think there's anything else we really need to touch on. That's pretty much an overview. I think we're in pretty good shape financially.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
Hey.
Laura, right?
Lauren. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. By the way, we hadn't, but good enough.
You thought it was going to be an hour.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll bring the box over here. Bring the whole box.
Sweeten up the assessor. Hey, did you drop that rate? Thank you, Lauren.
You don't pass the box.
Oh, so they came from you?
Tip yourself. Oh, is he trying to take credit?
I didn't know where they came from, so I was nervous.
Put it by the speaker.
No, they're good, they're from me.
Town clerk. Town clerk is up. Early voting and all kinds of election stuff.
I submitted the
Chinese
hours.
ballots?
I submitted the hours that we're proposing for the primary.
3 days?
That's enough.
Okay.
Historically, we don't have a big turnout for early voting in person. Mail-in has taken on a lot, but in person, we got, let me see, the last time, I think we had one day with one person. We did have a 16 one day. We had 40 total altogether. I don't think it's worth having somebody there all day, every day, if we don't have to. We are required to do weekend hours, a minimum of 4 hours. Having them all on Saturday, because Saturday is the last day for registration, that Saturday. Makes good sense to just get it all done that one day for the weekend hours.
Yep.
And the others, as long as we met 50% of our regular hours, and we can do that in 2 days,
So
obviously.
these are the minimums again, like last time?
We had 40 votes altogether. I was averaging the cost. For the primaries, it's like $15 a ballot. It's just, it doesn't make sense to stay open a lot because we just don't draw the the people in the early voting, the in-person.
Eva, do you have to have a police officer there for this?
For the early voting, we have not had. We do need them for the elections, obviously, for the primary itself, but not for the early voting sessions, we have not.
You just do it right in your office, or?
No, we do it up here because we have to be handicap accessible. So we have to commandeer the gym to do, well, excuse me, the auditorium in order to do that, so.
And we have to vote on the primary to have a police officer, right?
The primary itself, the state primary as well, and the election itself. Yeah.
And we're supposed to tell the chief now, right, that he's got to get someone.
Yeah,
I think, did we authorize you to do it last time?
you have to do it, but I can send him, but, so I have to get a permission from you, I'm assuming, each time.
That now is part of the early
Right.
voting thing.
Yeah.
I do see there, one potential conflict, you'll have to talk to Ellen, they have something scheduled on the 27th that they'll have to reschedule.
Yeah, by law, we have, I mean, I hate to say it, but we have to have the elections
That's a conflict.
handicap accessible, and this is it.
Oh, they have story time at 11ish, so I'm not sure if it's in here or upstairs.
Yeah, but I think by law, Eva
So
says,
I'm saying, you should reach out to them, let her know that, hey, by the way.
yeah, the town
Give you
function's gonna
plenty of
take
time.
precedent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Move to approve the town clerk's recommendation for early voting and would authorize her to reach out to the police department as needed for the primary and the election.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the question I have is, we didn't, the Board of Selectmen failed to appoint town election officers by August 15th, and the registrars could do that, so I don't know if they've done that yet, but.
we did have a registrar step down, I made you aware of that
Yes, we
also,
did, yeah.
yeah, B.
B.
I hate to say it, but what was Donna saying about lifetime appointments, that seems to be the case. And we have not always had them appointed annually, but they have been the same people continually, and until they are removed for whatever reason or stepped down, I think that has been an accepted practice.
Isn't the replacement for B going to be a Republican?
A Republican.
Right, so list comes from the committee, right?
I can give you a list of Republicans. I'll tell you what, the last time I reached out to the other registrars, and when you're dealing with people all the time, Doria was a good source, because she sees people all the time, so it was easier for her to say, what about so-and-so, what about, and she actually came up with a very good candidate with Eileen Bond, and Eileen is very accommodating with it, she's been wonderful. So, not that I'm gonna reach out to her again, but they are aware that we're down one, and I'm sure that they're gonna be scouting around too, but it would be a Republican we need.
Okay, do you think you'd have that name before the primary, or?
I really don't know. I can start scouting around, I'm certainly hoping so. As it is now, because of my capacity as a clerk for the registrars, I can sign off on things as a registrar as well. So it's not that we have been missing anything, so, but I would like to get one in place.
Oh, yeah, you have one thing you don't have.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is that the registrars do is recounts, or if someone is being questioned, challenged as a voter, and that's where they've come into play more than anything. But then signing off on petitions and nomination papers, and we get them, volumes of them at a time, so it would be nice to have someone else do it.
Seeing we got we got vacancies on the assessors and the cemetery commission, when's election, when's nomination papers coming out?
Yeah, and actually, Monday,
Monday? Oh, okay.
next Monday, not today, obviously.
Oh, could have handed them to the people we appointed tonight, hey, by the way.
Not that easy, but send them in.
All right.
All set?
Anything else election-wise we need to do for you, or?
Not at the moment. Things are not different from 2022. There haven't been any real changes from 2022, which is a good thing. I mean, laws that were changing every time we turned around in 2020 were ridiculous, but so many of them were put into place permanently in 2022. So it's a little easier to deal with these things now because you're a little more familiar with it. We've been there once, well, twice in some cases. So yeah, good on that.
Great.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So don't leave.
I'm sorry?
Don't leave.
We got Vadar.
Yeah, that was an assessor thing.
it's a select.
Well, not really, but we'll go with that for now.
Sure.
Hi, Norm.
Hi, how are you?
Have a munchkin.
Would you like a munchkin?
Huh?
Would you like a munchkin?
No, thank you.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. Good evening.
No new person yet?
Not yet.
Hard to believe.
I know, it's hard to believe that nobody wants to volunteer for something.
The 7 people waiting on site would like to be interviewed.
I know,
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah. So,
Go ahead. What's your,
well, we came in tonight at your invitation to talk a little bit about, I guess, the Vadar software and how it works and in ways that it might be able to be improved, I guess, so.
What is Vadar to start?
Yeah, I'll let,
So Vadar is the software that we use for billing, and it's also used for accounting as well. So the offices that use Vadar are the tax collector's office, the assessor's office, and then the accountant and the treasurer. So the accountant and the treasurer use more of the accounting side for the most part, and then the assessors are tied into the billing side with the tax collector's office.
Is there one database, or 2 databases? You're saying it's just one database that's parsed different ways
Anyone knows
depending on
that.
the department?
Exactly, it's kind of, yes, it's kind of split into those 2 categories. So basically, the reason for the discussion is I had a conversation with Bob just regarding some concerns due to some issues we've been having with connecting to Vadar in our office, and also not having the ability to access it remotely if needed. So in regards to the connectivity, we haven't been able to log in to Vadar from our office since the beginning of December. And that's just this last time. It has happened many times before, and then it will be fixed temporarily, and then we are then not able to get back into the system. It's kind of been an ongoing issue for quite some time.
Because the database is physically located here?
It is, yes.
Where?
So the main computer is in the tax collector's office, and then we have one specific computer in our office that is solely for Vadar.
Right, but the database is hosted on which computer?
In the tax collector's office.
So you can't access it from your computer?
No, not from our regular desktops, correct, yep.
How
So,
does the treasurer access it then?
so I learned that, so I'll start, so back, we've had Vadar for quite some time. Back in 2018, the town went to switch from having it on the PC in the collector's office to Vadar Cloud. So it's the same exact database, but it's just moved to the cloud. And the purpose, there's a couple benefits to that. One is that anyone that uses it can access it right from their desktop, and you can also access it remotely from anywhere. So if you are working from home or wherever you are, you can get into it whenever you need to. So the town had switched over, all 4 offices that use it switched to the cloud, and we were on it for, I think, approximately a month. And there were some issues that were occurring in the tax collector's office. They were having some trouble with the connection on their side. And from my understanding, it would kick them out while they were working on things, and it was an issue. So they decided to move it back from the cloud back onto the computer where it had been.
Okay, but how does the treasurer log into it now if it's hosted internally? And you said, for instance, you have your own computer that,
right,
I assume through the town hall network?
Yes,
So IP to IP and it.
So is it on our server or is it on a computer?
it's on a computer, I believe it's on,
It's on the server.
or on, sorry,
It's on the server, so it-
in your office,
Server.
not
It's
the
on
main
server in the
server.
office.
So is it on the town server, the one that,
Not the town server.
Well,
It's on the server in the collector's office.
Yeah.
server or computer? You have your own separate server?
Server.
You have your own separate server?
We have a server in the collector's office, and the program is on the server.
Okay.
But to answer your question, so the treasurer and the accountant, they actually remained on the cloud. So they're able to access just the accounting side on the cloud from their desktop or remotely. to input the information there. But whenever they have to match anything up on the billing side, they have to go into the collector's office to manually enter and make sure that everything's matching up on both
Well,
ends.
that doesn't sound like it'd be the same database then, if there's one on the cloud and one on the,
They were somehow able to keep those two parts separate. I did not realize that. I had been under the impression previously, I thought everyone had switched back over. And then I learned that they were using the cloud. I thought that was a recent thing, but apparently they never moved. They were able to stay on the cloud. For some reason, they are able to keep that one side, the accounting side, separate to be able to enter it.
So here's my question. If it's on the server, why can we not access it through IP? If it's on a server.
It's a local network. There's a server in the collector's office, and there are 3 computers connected to it.
Okay,
So it's a local network. It's not on the server for the town.
so if it's on a local network, though, we should still be able to remote into it or remote into the database, right? Because
No, it's not online.
so how is it connected to 3 different computers then?
It's a local network.
So they're hardlined into each
its
other?
own hub, basically, not in the.
So they're all
library.
plugged into each other?
So you have one wire run to your office, basically, from that hub.
Yes, and for one, that's why we have the one separate computer for.
But I guess I'm still questioning back to, it's not one database. If you have the treasurer and accountant using a database that's up in the cloud, and then there's a local database there, they're not the same database. I don't understand how they could ever be, if that one doesn't get out of its local
There
network.
are 3 components to the system.
Thank you, components.
Collector has theirs, clerk has theirs, treasurer has theirs, and accountant has theirs. So there are 3 components, and you don't have access to each of them. So I don't have access to the collector or to the treasurer or the accountant. I have access to the collector side of it.
Is that common practice amongst other municipalities?
Yeah, you can't access another department's.
I mean, is the data shared, though? I mean, do you use the data that they use?
The data that we use, we give them a hard copy of what we have for reports, and it's very easy to
So
transmit
but is that how other communities work too?
I'm sorry?
Is that how other communities operate? I mean, Bob, you might know better.
Probably not.
What other communities do that I think is increasingly common is that they put an icon on every department head's machine, desktop, and they have access to their budget.
Okay.
Through the accounting system. Not anybody else, but they're able to check their budget rather than wait until the accountant sends a printout or sends an electronic file every month. And so.
So basically, the icon, depending on rights, it brings them
What they
into.
limit
the
access.
fund.
It's like Laserfish, where we limit rights and we grant rights.
I guess what I'm having a hard time understanding right now, and maybe it's just my lack of understanding of the whole system, is if you don't have access to individual, like assessors and accountant and treasurers don't have access to the same data, why do they need to be together?
So ours, actually, we have access to the same component, which is a good way of phrasing it, but we have different rights and restrictions on what we can access.
Okay.
But we do have the same information because we have everything related to real estate taxes, exemptions or abatements that are entered, things that we would enter on our side and that the collector needs to see on their side, and motor vehicle excise as well.
So whether that's locally or on the cloud, it's all the same?
It's the same information, yes.
Okay. When you say on the cloud, is this Vadar cloud, like they own
It is.
the network storage for it all?
Yes,
So they have security and safety measures in place for that?
they do.
What a redundancy.
Redundancy is good, but what about access? How do they control access? Are they the ones that administer the rights to say to you and to whoever else? Or
No,
Radar has access to everything, and they actually have access to sell the information that we currently sell.
say that again, I'm sorry.
If we put the information on the cloud,
Yeah.
Radar sells that information to like the tax services.
Is that legal?
We maintain that information and we're able to sell it to the tax services. So it's an easy couple grand a year or more.
So we sell it to people?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Is that legal to sell people's tax information?
It is. As a matter of fact, we used to have a revolving account because that's how I bought the computers, from the
Uh-huh.
revolving account, but they decided that having a revolving account for the collector's office wasn't how we can maintain
So
the
if
system.
our data is on the cloud, Vadar then sells our data and
Correct.
we have no option to sell that data?
but we wouldn't have to, they can give it to Vadar. And my attitude is if it's not broke, don't fix it. And the only problem with the assessors accessing it is because they go online with the system and it changes the IP, and that can be easily fixed. And I know you say you don't, but how do you make your transition vision to Vadar?
It's not online, no, it's something that I match reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you put the information from Vision onto a thumb drive and then access it back into Vadar? You don't go online?
No, I do it on a thumb drive.
It's all on
Yeah.
a thumb drive from Vision to Vadar?
I mean, is it something as simple as just setting up a VPN then?
It's, yeah, setting the address to the computers. And instead of a fixed one, if you go online or whatever, it does change the addresses. So we do have some that are reserved specifically for Vadar, just for that land, just for our system.
Well, it sounds like a VPN wouldn't work if they have their own private network that doesn't connect to the town network. We can't VPN into it without being connected to the town-wide.
Right, so it sounds like we would have to network our own server.
Right.
And then if, there's a question about, okay, well, we can profit on selling the data versus another company, but yet it's still on our network internally, and then VPN in, would that solve issues?
I mean, so the issue.
Because it does sound like one of the things you were concerned was remote access.
Yes.
And you can't do it because it's a closed loop right now.
Correct, yeah.
If it was in the town loop, it could still be hosted here. But like Craig said, you would be able to VPN into it because there would be connectivity from the, so to speak, the wide web.
There's a way to do
point.
that. Yeah.
If there's security, and that probably is just as much as, the tax collector concern, is if we're connecting to the broad connection, is there security for that part there? And I would have to say,
And I think to say it too, but the likelihood of having a problem connecting, it's twice a year that we do that conversion. The likelihood that there would be a problem, that's not something that could be done here is all but remote.
yeah, but how often do you want to connect to the Vadar system?
Well, so, that's the thing, if we are working remotely, I mean, we do go on Vadar every day to answer questions for taxpayers. And so what you're talking about is the billing process, which we, like she said, we do twice a year for the preliminary and actual billing. But we also have motor vehicle excise commitments and abatements. We have real estate abatements and exemptions and other things that we use the system for to process on our side that we would like to be able to access if we had to do it remotely.
You have limited access right now, and you'd like greater access.
Well, no, I would like the same access. I just would like to be able to make sure that we can connect from our office just so that it's efficient, because right now it's been making it very difficult because we have calls from residents and we have to take a message, get back to them so that we can go next door to the other office, wait for a computer to open up, go on there to get the information, then come back and call them.
I thought you had a computer in your office that was connected.
We do.
Loses connectivity.
We lose it.
We lose
the
the
That
connection
should be easily
constantly.
resolved. There's no reason that should keep happening.
Oh, you keep dropping connection to the hub?
And we haven't had any
That should
since the
keep
beginning of
happening.
December,
We don't
this last
have
time.
either of the other two.
How old are the computers that these are on?
That's right. That one's actually fairly new. All the computers had been updated within the last few
I know
years.
we were
so-
looking a month or two ago on some of our infrastructure, some of our computers, some of them are very old. There's a couple that were very old that I was concerned about.
Yeah, no, it has
Any
been
of those?
updated within the last couple of years, yeah.
So just the connection issue, is it it's a matter of, there's a problem with the jack in the wall that we think is the problem, or is it a static versus dynamic IP? That's
We're not the computer.
Yeah.
I didn't know if
So it doesn't work. I couldn't tell you why.
when Entree was here, have they looked at it, or?
They have, and it's been temporarily fixed a number of times, and it will work for a little while, and then we'll lose it again for another reason. But it always seems to be the computer in our office that has the problems with the connection.
Longest connection.
So if we were networked this server, I mean, you could still get into it internally through a VPN if you had to, or if you needed remote access.
Yep, because those
If it
are,
was
on the main network.
if the server was networked.
and then that way it would also be, if it was on the main server, it would also be backed up regularly
Right.
as well.
Well, that was my thing too. We talked to Entree about increasing our data size on our server. They're backing it up there. It's, the redundancy's there. So you don't have to worry about losing data. So I think, just a general, infrastructure perspective, it's backed up. Right now, it's not. If something were to happen,
Actually, it is, it's backed up, we
On
can
the
back up
USB.
for it. So it is backed up. We backed up to a thumb drive.
I think you did.
Back up to a thumb drive?
Yeah, because it's just the data that we need. We don't need the whole system backed up because Vadar has a system. So all we have to do is back up the data.
Right, but if it's a closed system, the backup is never leaving the town hall.
Right.
Right.
So, well, no, I mean, you take the system, you take the thumb drive with you.
Well, yeah, but that sounds like it's a partial backup. You know, this is what I need now. The whole system is never backed up
No,
remotely.
the whole, you don't need
Which
to
is-
back up the whole system. Vadar has the system. All
But
that
they-
they need is the data.
But if we lose the data, say
Yeah.
town hall burns down tomorrow, we lose all the data, we have no
No,
backup.
you have it on the thumb drive.
You take the
have-
thumb, who takes the
have
thumb drive home?
backup.
Does somebody take a thumb drive home?
Yeah,
Every night?
not every night, every week. I don't see any reason to put it on the network. And my attitude is if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and it's not. And I've only been made aware just recently of the problem that they've had with connectivity, and that's not the problem we've had in the past.
Well, it
This
has
is
for our
something recent.
office. Well, no, it's happened with our office many times before, but this last time, it's been a longer period of time. But we have, over the last couple of years, it's
In
been
the
quite a
past,
few
though, she was
times.
going online with a computer, and it was changing the IP address, and that was what happened. So Vadar, Andre saved some IP addresses for us. So that was the problem in
there
the
was one
past,
time,
and that
yeah.
was resolved.
One time, yeah, but then
And
after
again-
that, we never changed it.
And
Personally, I think, as, IT background, infrastructure security, data security, there's some issues that arise by hosting a backup internally. Personally, I think, we're in the digital age, we've gone through great efforts to upgrade a lot of the things we do to be, online, interconnected. I personally think all town data should be available on the server or put on a network server for security and for backup reasons.
Off-site.
and I
Right.
can't agree
Off-site,
with that.
Right, yeah, but the backup would be
I think it's
off-site.
better buffered if it's independent.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
you.
said I can't agree with that because it's buffered. It's better buffered if it's independent of the system.
What do you mean buffered? What it was, I don't,
I mean, if nobody else can get to it from the outside world. I know that a lot of techies here just believe firmly in the cloud, and they believe that there's no way anybody's gonna interfere with our access to our computer systems. I don't believe that. I think it's too easy for someone to get in their emails or whatever. People have attacks. And I just think that if the system is buffered from that, it's better protected. I don't see any reason to go on the town server. It's been working like this for, I don't know how many years, many, many, many. And I'm not saying that your system is better than ours. I just think that if we're keeping it independent, and we can afford her accessibility, because she can use another computer. Not only that, we've always, in the past, we could get lists of exemptions, whatever, refunds, whatever, not refunds, but exemptions or abatements, whatever. We can enter them ourselves. That's what we had always done before.
But that's a
And that was
function of
just-
our office, and
It is a function of
Yeah.
your office, but we had only extended that, we had given you that computer, not as a courtesy, but just as a convenience really for you at the time.
Bob, in your travels through other municipalities and other forms of administration, how do other towns do it?
I think the cloud is pretty much dominant.
Yeah,
Other towns, larger towns use Munis.
yeah.
Smaller communities use Vadar. Vadar probably has 2/3 of the smaller communities in Massachusetts, and cloud-based.
I believe they said over 98% of their communities are on the cloud.
Okay, so it's very rare that a town would host it, closed network.
And they've expressed their concerns for a while when different things have come up as far as the security.
I do remember seeing an email that there was a costly backup that they did for free,
Yes,
Right.
that's correct, yeah.
or they called costly repair of something, I don't
Yes,
know what it was.
and they said that the next time that they would be billing for it.
Yeah,
But even if you don't go to the cloud, if you can link the network with the town server, the VPN system works very well. Until we went to Laserfish, I used it every week. I VPN right into my desktop, because I'd often leave files on the desktop instead of putting them up in the cloud, and I wanted to get to them, and I would use the VPN system.
I have high confidence that VPNs are pretty secure too.
Yeah, it's
based on
very
what I've
secure.
seen in the
Very
past,
secure.
working with them in IT. Again, I think I would like to see the town, have all its data, the town-owned data, centrally backed up and on the network within the town, I'm not saying we have to go to Vadar Cloud, I'd like to keep things, internal, and, we have our own network, we should be utilizing it to its advantage.
And that would be, I mean, that would work for us if that would,
How much productivity do you lose under this system?
well, it depends on how many calls we get per day, that we need, I mean, right now, Porch,
Transfer them to us. Transfer them to the collector's office if it's a collector question.
well, we do, if it's a
Okay.
collector question, we always do, but if it's something for us, a lot of times it has to do with motor vehicle excise abatements or things like that. So, Jane has been running back and forth quite a bit lately.
And again, this is the first time I've been aware of any significant problems with connections. It really is the first time I've been aware of that. And it hasn't been a problem in the past. If it has, you brought it to us. And again, it was, at the time, we knew it was because the system had gone online. There have been a few occasions, in the past, there were a few
And we
occasions.
had talked about it, and
But
when Dick and
I
I had
really
sat
don't
down and
see
talked
any
about
need
it.
to go beyond
Okay.
where we are. I just feel that the system is better buffered where it is.
It seems like there's three things we can do here. We can leave it the way it is, but get the physical part checked, why the drop connection. We could leave the server there, but connect it to the town network so that VPNing would work into it. Or we could move the thing to the cloud so that proper departments would have access to it both internally here and externally as well.
Worldwide.
Those are, number one was leaving it the way it is, but fixing the hardware problem that seems to be occurring. Number two would be leaving the server in your office, but connecting it to the town network so the VPNing would work for better town-wide or remote access. And number three is going the next way, moving to the cloud so that everybody has access.
And I don't
Is there a
think it's
cost
necessary.
associated with going to,
Vadar Cloud,
1 and 2 would require work from Entree, I take it that's about it.
maybe, we're already upgrading the server anyway.
Right, so.
I would have
Number
to,
3, is there a cost to the Vader Cloud?
Subscription
Different
of
what
some
we're
sort.
paying now?
I would have to ask them, I'm honestly not sure. Not sure if you remember from
I have
before.
to say, I'm offended by the fact that everyone else thinks that they have a better idea of how the collector's office should work. And I know that you guys are all techies. I am not a big believer in how isolated you think that our system is, or especially the cloud. And if it's, as I say, if our system is better protected, and that's the way I feel it is now, I think that we're better off.
I hear what you're saying, Eva. I completely get having the closed network and having the ability to keep it secure. 100% agree with you there. However, being that the town data is in one location, I want to remove the variables that it could get damaged, lost, corrupted for some reason. And my personal opinion is if we can mitigate that small aspect of it and keep it hosted internally on a server, that it would benefit the town's data. I'm not saying the cloud is the way to go. You made a good point about the, if we're benefiting from selling the data versus somebody else, well, I see the benefit there. But I also see the benefit of keeping it internally on a local network or an interconnected network within the town hall.
And again, I just see that that's more vulnerability is all. And I know you guys think it's isolated from the world. I just don't look at it that way, because I think there are internal things that can happen. And once it hits
And again-
the system, everyone gets it.
Again, I'll counterpoint you, that yes, I think internal things could happen, is just the way that internal things could happen to the local backup with no other data redundancy. So it could go either way, and
We don't go online with the system, so I don't think there's the opportunity for attacks other than.
right,
here.
I'm more worried about data corruption, hard drive failure. I mean, I've lost plenty of hard drives over my years due to a disk fragmentation error. Anything, that spinning disk, it just shatters at some point.
We do have a backup server that also has a duplicate system on it, so we have two.
But I think,
One covers the other.
but I think there's a perception that once you connect to the town network, everybody's gonna see it.
No.
And the
No,
way
it's
that's,
not that everyone's gonna
no,
see
no,
it.
but or they can find it. And I think with the new firewalls that are out there now, I mean, I had the problem in my office, we did a server, and oh my gosh, everybody's logging in, deleting folders they shouldn't. We had to immediately go to a rights-based setup so that the wrong people could not see stuff they shouldn't. And that's the danger here. All of a sudden, you're plugged in a town network, and somebody at the public access at the library is like, whoa, hey, I'm gonna drop my taxes. It doesn't happen like
It
that.
doesn't, it's not.
I wish it could.
Access that I'm concerned about.
She's more worried about intrusion.
And I understand that,
Bad
but it's the
actors.
same thing, like we just said, you can do that firewall protection thing and only give rights to the people you want to have access.
And I know Bob's
We went
been in
through-
contact with Entree recently,
Right.
and we're,
But we went through, heck, how long a time with everybody doing remote access? And I'm hearing that one of the major functions we were never able to do. Basically, during the time the town hall was kind of closed off, you couldn't do that stuff from home. No. And you still can't. So if we had a bit of a shutdown here, maybe if the boiler went and we were without heat, and we had to be remote for a week, you'd be out of luck in that function. And actually, your department would be too. When, you know,
I don't think the volume of the activity we get from the assessors is that significant. And I understand we get the abatements and the exemptions, but those are, again, those are things that we would enter manually from their information as well. It's not something that couldn't be done. And we do have another computer that's available in the office
Those are
that
all-
doesn't have the connectivity problems.
I don't think we're talking a huge expense, actually, compared
server
to,
cost, yeah.
Hmm?
The server cost.
I mean, if we went option 2 and fine, we're not looking at the cloud yet, but we want it accessible in a better VPN type state. I don't think that's a big expense.
I think we could fit that in the IT budget.
Right. I'd like to explore that a little bit and get some, if you want to reach out to Entree and maybe explore some pricing, Craig, you understand that better. You know how to express it.
Right, I mean, I don't even know if we need much more storage space, because there's already a server, we just need to have it connected to the LAN.
The firewall concerns are very, and that might, maybe it needs its own sonic wall on top of the main one we have at the town hall. Who knows? A different VPN, but I think it needs to be explored.
I agree.
And did you want us to reach out to Vadar on cost there?
Be nice to know the
I'd be
cost.
curious.
I'm just asking, because I thought that's what you said earlier. I'm just,
Well, I asked, do you know the difference?
Right.
If you don't, maybe you'd like to know.
okay.
And I'm just out of curiosity,
You
since
can use that extra salary you're not paying now.
Yeah.
this is a collector program and not an assessor program, why would you want them to contact Vadar?
Well, who's paying Vadar now? Out of what budget? Just you?
Right,
Okay. Who pays Dick's costs and stuff?
Dick,
So each department that uses Vadar pays its own cost, except for you? Does Cliff pay it out of his budget, or he pays out of
no,
Dick's?
who pays this? They all have their budgeted.
So there's not a separate cost for the stuff you do, or it's just covered under that?
No, that was a convenience, that computer was put in their office for convenience at the time, not because it was necessary.
But it does make sense because, you know, our office is are the ones that accept all of the applications for the exemptions, the abatements. The Board of Assessors are the ones that approve those, and then we enter them in. So ever since I've been here, which, you know,
Yeah,
about
you've
years
entered them
ago,
since you've been here.
it's always been our responsibility.
Again, before that, we always entered them, so.
So the plan?
I don't have a plan. I can barely turn the computer on.
He hasn't shut this off in 4 months right now to make sure.
And the thing,
So my thing with any of this is productivity, efficiency,
Right.
security. So what's the most productive way, the most efficient way, the most secure way? And if it's a VPN, fine. If it's cloud, fine, but
The guy standing with the wire. Unplug it quick.
I think,
So is that changed, so is Eva going to do that piece then for Vadar? Is that what you're saying, Eva? That you're
That's what I
gonna,
was asking, why they were asking you to check with Vadar and see if there
Oh,
was,
I didn't know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
Out of your budget, I mean, it'd be nice to know what the price
but
is.
why would there be a cost to it if you're just gonna, I mean, I don't see how there could be a cost, because they're not really involved in that.
The cloud storage.
No, I just want to know if option 3 was something to consider, but if it's an extra 5,000 a year, then, well, we're fine with option 2.
Right.
Which maybe Craig will
Yeah,
look into.
you're thinking about it a little bit more, my concern is about the data, and, you know, should we, as selectmen, set a policy for how we as internally back up our own data? You know, should we have a policy that says town data is redundantly backed up within the network.
Well, wasn't that one of the concerns that Craig had when he came to our meeting, is like the size of the data we were using? A lot of it was because of this constant
Backup.
versions of the same backup pretty much, where you've changed one character, but by gosh, you put all the books in the library again.
But I think the thing he was saying was, though, there was a backup, but they weren't going and overwriting. A lot of the backups
Right.
should be overwritten.
Not incremental, it was just
Right, it was the way it was
image,
done.
image, yeah, right.
We can back up to the server as well by connecting, and doing a backup that would go directly to the server. We could do that without going onto the cloud or onto the server altogether. We could still do backups that way.
No, I could say there may be a middle ground, maybe. But I think accessibility and security are two major things.
Yeah, they gotta be
I'd
able
like to
to get
investigate
into it.
what it takes. I think I heard that Entree was possibly coming in next week. They had rescheduled their meeting. It might be a question.
They were supposed to be in this morning. But,
Are they coming in,
problem,
are they coming in next week?
they were rescheduled. Did you talk to them?
I did not, I think
I
Jane
think
did.
Jane talked to them, and they've been rescheduled. So,
Well, if they come in next week, since the two of you are in the office,
Yeah.
can we run this idea by them?
yes,
Whoever's here?
yeah. We clearly need to enable town employees, especially department heads, to be able to operate outside the workday and outside the work week, because in municipal government, it doesn't always fit in the standard workday or the standard work week. And we did this during COVID. I think we all used remote access. And my feeling is if someone wants to actually turn on a computer at home and do some work outside the workday, that's an asset for the town. And we should value that.
So you're gonna talk to Entree,
Yeah.
you're gonna call Vadar?
I can do that.
Okay,
What are you doing?
what am I doing?
Running the show right now.
Donut.
Well, there you go. All right, all right.
Sound like a
Heavy the
plan?
head that wears the crown.
That works, yeah, like I said, it's just, those were our issues. We're by no means trying to tell another department how they should run
This
things.
is what you're doing.
No, it's really
No,
not, Eva.
no.
It's really not. It was bringing concerns because we cannot do our job because we cannot access it from there.
Right.
And I know if it was the other way.
Productivity,
It goes to your,
security.
exactly right. It goes to your point.
Productivity, efficiency, security.
Yeah, security is my main concern.
All right, see you later, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
I have a good night.
0 Walnut Purchase Street, purchase and sale, I have no idea what this means.
Okay, can I make a suggestion of? Sandra is here. Can we talk PVTA first?
PBTA with the typo in the letter, right?
She spelled Hampden, right? Better than some letter we've gotten.
My next.
You are.
Line 6, was it?
All right, go ahead, Sandra, come on up.
Good afternoon, or good evening. See productivity of municipal government, right?
Wait, about flyers and everything?
Of course I did. I want to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of the assessments,
We don't.
because it's not a typo.
Yeah?
It's not a typo.
Yes, it is, yes, it is. It says here, where is it here? Here's
Just be
Ken.
grateful you're not Springfield.
Email.
They pay millions.
Email, tonight's meeting deadline Thursday. This came from, where the hell is it now? Selectmen's operating,
I sit here, right?
20 minutes ago. Selectmen, Steve, Selectmen perspective.
The advisory schedule will start to heat up.
Did you put the copy, is there a copy of the letter in here, the assessment letter in here?
Yes, I have to talk to Doug, because
Okay.
we're gonna start next month, so.
Right now.
The assessment, where is it?
This one?
It's in your folder, it's also in
Yeah,
Laserfish.
just copy this. Okay, not that one.
The one I have.
Yep.
Okay, so line 6, it says that the local assessment under Proposition 2.5 is $98,635,000.
9 million.
9 million.
No, well, line 6, 9, comma,
Yeah.
8635,
9,863. Does it say?
895.
Right. So the increase in the local.
No, see, there's 4 numbers there.
So 9,898,000,000.
Commas are in the wrong spot.
Oh, yeah, I see.
98 million. Is the budget
Guys,
98
everyone's
million?
letter went wrong, yeah.
Oh, is it 9,000,000,
Yeah, so there's a typo there, there's an error, that, you got it,
So is it 98 million or 9 million?
9 million.
Okay, is it 9,800,000 and something? See, because, see,
You want to come here, Sam.
fiscal year 2022 says 9,635,000, right? And then the next, this, line 6 says 9, comma, 8, so is it 835 or 895 or?
835. Can I see the letter? I didn't get this one letter. 9,863,
9,863,000?
and the 5 should not be there, and 8 not. I'll send you a corrected letter, how's that?
All right,
Well, thank you so much for having me here.
so that's 2.5%, plus we got more ridership.
All right. So I'm just going to go over some of the information that I brought in. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Sandra Sheehan, the administrator of the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority. So I'm going to explain how we do the assessment so that everyone has a good understanding of it. But before I do that,
22 was this, and 23 is now the same number?
no, it's not.
Oh, it's different.
It's-
I know, but you wouldn't know it from this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 22 and 23 were the same number, it says here, even though it said increased to the same number. So, either way,
Oh, goodness
just
gracious.
give us
So
a
much for,
regular, just give us the full one. When's that bus coming through town again?
Well, it doesn't catch on fire.
yes, that is true. So,
All right,
So in the town of Hampden, we only have the Dial-A-Ride program, which is for individuals 60 and over. We do not have ADA service because there's no fixed route in the town of Hampden. So the only service that PVTA provides here is Dial-A-Ride service. PVTA has extended the Dial-A-Ride service in fiscal year '23. It used to operate from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Fridays. The service was extended from 8 to 7 p.m. on weekdays and 8 to 7 p.m. on Saturdays. Before, Dial-A-Ride was not available on Saturdays. So that was a change that was made during fiscal year '23. It was approved by the board on March of 2022. And the reason why we did that is because we realized that the population in our region is aging and they need more transportation. Some communities, as Hampden, do not have the bus system going through it, so there is a need for the elderly to be transported, and we want to make sure that we were available to do that, because that is one of our missions, to ensure that we provide options of transportation for people that have no other way to get from one place to the other. And so for the Dial-A-Ride from Hampden, you had a total of 164 trips on this fiscal year '23. The destination, medical, grocery, general community. So it's a total of 13.6 trips per month. Your trips increased quite a bit. Last year, they were less than 50 trips performed, so this year went up to 164. So I did do an analysis of the most popular destinations at Bay State. They're all in Springfield. And I know Tri-Town, it's the one that provides services for you, but Tri-Town only operates from 9 to 4:30, no, through to 3:30, I believe, Monday through Fridays. And when you go to Springfield from Hampden, as many of you know, and you have a doctor's appointment that can take an hour, by the time you bring someone to Springfield to 100 Wasson, 3300 Main Street, Bay State Hospital, Carew Medical Center, which is on Mercy Medical Center, or Bay State, wherever, it takes around 40 minutes to get to Springfield. So if you drop someone off on the Tri-Town system for a medical appointment, usually the van stays there, because by the time it comes back to Tri-Town, it's time to go back and pick up the person, and it's a waste of time. So when we pick up someone from Hampden and bring them to Springfield, the bus stays in Springfield and does other trips. When the person's ready, another vehicle, doesn't have to be the same driver because we have so many vehicles, brings them back. So we're a little bit more efficient that way. You have trips to Big Y, Three Rivers, and Palmer. There was an individual that was going to Three Rivers and Palmer to his daughter's house from Hampden. His wife passed away, and since May, he moved to the Three Rivers in Palmer, so he will not longer be making the trip. So it might be a reduction in trips. However, because we're now open on Saturdays and people know more about that, and we do transportation for free on Tuesday for the elderly, then you have more people riding. PBTA pays the operator a net cost of service of $47.71 for every paratransit trip that we perform.
So you
Whether-
pick up somebody in Hampden,
Mhm,
take them down to Bay State for roughly $50.
correct.
The action will do it for 6,000. Wow.
And so, and then we ask them for a $3.50 fare, depending, you're going out of the community, so sometimes it's $3.50, sometimes it's $5, depending on how far you go. If you're going to Northampton, it's gonna cost you $5.
You'll actually go all the way to Northampton?
Oh, we take them anywhere within the 24 communities that we provide service. So if you want to go to Sunderland, we are not allowed to ask you what the purpose of your trip is, but if you want to go, we will take you.
A trip to the Iron Horse all set for you, Don.
I'm gonna say, there's a barbecue place up there too.
Yes, so that's why we have some general community trips, whether they went to the movies, went to work, went to visit a family member, like this individual was doing. His wife was in hospice. He went to his daughter's house, he went to Big Y, and he went somewhere else, and then he ended up at his daughter's house. And he did that trip quite a bit during the last year. Like I said, his wife passed away, and he has now relocated and moved with his
And
daughter.
his impact was $350 per trip, around that.
Right,
Now,
correct,
round trip or each?
each way, each way, so I'm sure
Who's
it's
eligible for dial-a-ride?
at the dial, right?
No, who's eligible for dial-a-ride?
Anyone 60 and over.
60 and over?
Sorry, Greg.
I was like, go to Iron Horse.
So, and just to have some system-wide information, NV is PBTA's operator for paratransit services, and they perform the bulk of our trips. Ridership increased quite a bit, 17.9% for the fiscal year overall. We have contracts with some councils on aging. We have a contract with Agawam, Hadley, Tri-Town Trolley. I don't know if you know, but PBTA subsidizes the Tri-Town Trolley around $70,000 a year. We paid them $5,800 a month for some of the transportation that they do. So we apply for a grant for the communities through the Community Transportation Grant Program through Mass DOT, and we allocate the funds to the different communities that are listed here.
That's a pretty good increase in the Tri-Town Trolley.
Yes, their ridership is past pre-pandemic levels. So we're very pleased. They're moving a lot of people.
So the town subsidizes PBTA, so you can offer low fares to 60 and over.
You subsidize PBTA. The way the PBTA is funded with state monies, federal monies, and a local assessment. As part of your membership to PBTA, you pay a local assessment to PBTA.
Okay.
So for all these trips here.
So out of all the
64
trips,
and all that, you're asking for
$21,111,
$2,000.
correct. When if you do the math, if it's over $9,000. But I'm going to explain to you so you have a good understanding of how PBTA assesses the communities. And Hampden is an easier community to assess, well, simpler.
I'm sorry, did you say is or isn't?
Is because you don't have fixed route. So PBTA assessment to the communities and all the cost that is allocated to the communities is based on the total miles within that community and the total ridership within that community. Because you don't have fixed route, we don't assess miles. You only have ridership, so we assess by riders. So based on the number of riders that you have, your assessment is changed, and it can go up or down because it's the assessment for the whole 24 communities. So the total cost of the service, it's spread out based on miles to the 24 communities and based on passengers. And that's how the assessment is done. So it's the total number for Hampden, it's the total number of paratransit trips performed in Hampden divided by the total number of trips performed in the whole valley for paratransit, and that's multiplied times the cost of the service for paratransit. And so your number, your rate comes out to be 0.00105 or 0.00999, 0.0009, depending on how you calculate it. So that's the cost of the paratransit for Hampden. That's one cost. And then we add the maintenance of the vehicles that are, the whole total cost of all the vehicles that they maintain, that percentage belongs to Hampden. The insurance expense for vehicle, that percentage belongs to Hampden. And then we do the revenue. All the fares collected, that percentage, because those are the trips, that percentage of paratransit revenue is allocated to Hampden. Then we do insurance recovery. If anyone hits a PVTA vehicle, doesn't matter where it is, and we do recoveries, then at the end of the year, the total amount is spread within all the 24 communities, regardless of where the accident took place, because we're all together in this. So the revenues on those recoveries are allocated and deducted. So the paratransit cost, the net cost of service to Hampden comes out to be $8,198. Then we add some general expenses. PVTA has over 5 facilities that need to be maintained. So all the costs of the facilities, that percentage is allocated to Hampden. The utilities for all the facilities, including the administration building, is allocated for that percentage. And the insurance, which is, general liability, excess liability, because we're self-insured on the buses, vehicle liability, whatever, the whole thing, workers' comp, everything, that percentage is allocated to Hampden. So the final cost of the service to Hampden is $9,000. And then we do all the federal subsidies that we get. We apply for all the grants that are available. We apply for, charge ADA to some federal grants, preventive maintenance to some federal grants. And so that's taken out, that percentage of all the federal subsidies, regardless of whether they're spent in Hampden, are allocated to Hampden. So you take the 9,000 minus the 2,000 and you come out to 6,995. So that's the net cost of the transit service in Hampden. Then we do that for all the communities, and then we come up with a net cost for everybody. And we divide the net cost of Hampden to the net cost of the whole system and multiply times that $9.642,926 million. And that's how we get your assessment. And we multiply times 9.6, not the 9.8 that we're supposed to be using, because there's some communities in the 5 college that don't pay a fare. So we charge a phantom fare. So that cost is allocated only to those communities, Amherst, Hatley, Sunderland, Belchertown. So that doesn't get applied to you, but just so that you know why the number is different. It doesn't include the total assessment. No. And I also wanted to let you know that the assessments that are paid to PVTA are 18 months behind. So this assessment, PVTA will not see it for 18 months. So we operate on a budget assuming that we're gonna get so much next year, but in reality, it's 18 months behind. So we're getting what was assessed 18 months ago.
I would say it seemed like a pretty good deal. You're asking for $2,100.
Yes.
It is, if you look at the chart at the top, surprising that it's gone up so much. You can't count last year. The 267 was, I think, a COVID number.
Right, and you could see that last year, overall, your trips decrease. Overall, the trips that were performing paratransit.
Right, the last
and
real
sometimes,
year, the last real year was probably FY20 at the 800 number.
And that was only to March, because after that, there was no service.
So you have nothing before that, or?
I could go back and get you that, number.
I just wonder if we saw like the 17, 18, 19, and then we did like a little track, this would be, if you didn't have COVID, this would probably be where we were going to be.
Oh, yes, yeah,
What type of
absolutely.
vehicle comes to Hampden for transit?
Which one?
What type of vehicle comes to Hampden?
We have a converted F350 or F450. They're the little vans.
Small bus?
Small vans, yeah.
So I would come to somebody's house and pick them up?
Yes, door-to-door service.
Is it a little smaller than the Tri-Town trolley?
Actually, it's about the same size because we give them more used vehicles for their service. So, and we also apply for grants for them to get vehicles.
And we currently operate 3 Tri-Town trolleys or 4?
They, as many as they can afford to operate based on their budget.
A couple of them still say 2.
So,
Haven't re-lettered them.
oh,
Here's a random question. Why are you 18 months behind in billing?
I don't know, that's how the state pays PVTA. 18 months, I don't know what they do with the money that they collect from the share sheet. I have no idea.
No.
Talk about efficiency.
Probably should
Correct.
hire some more employees, Don. Maybe you can call somebody up.
Get one of those seasonal guys.
Well, it's like, we're not behind in paying our bills, but, you know, we don't have a bill, we can't pay.
No, because it's taken out of your
Right.
cherry sheet. But I also wanted to bring some Tri-Town trolley information to you guys, which is the last page. They perform a total of 1,250 trips for Hampden, an average of 104 trips for Hampden. So that also has gone up.
I think Wendy does a great job over there managing that department, I think in coordination with the other counties as well.
Yeah, Aaron?
Now, this is nothing that affects our budget per se, this comes directly off the cherry sheet.
Right.
So it's a number that's passed through. Cliff knows it, we've never seen it per se, right?
No, you never see it, it's taken up from the cherry sheet. Like I said, you're lucky because you're not Springfield or Holyoke, they get millions taken off their cherry sheet. Because they have so many miles and so many trips.
How much notice do you have to give if you want to schedule?
Just, you can call the day before 5 o'clock when the reservationists leave. But we will do like 24, and you can call it us 2 weeks in advance if you want to, like any medical appointments that someone needs to go to. And I've spoken with Becky to make sure that she lets everyone at the senior center know. We did have someone that was taking care of a child that had, or a young adult that had, I think it's autism, and he couldn't transport him anymore because he was no longer able to drive, and even though it was a child,
Yes.
saying that on this, we will come over and pick them up because we know that the adult, the senior wasn't able to do it anymore. I mean, we look at a case-by-case scenario.
Somebody's got a doctor's appointment.
Yes.
Does the transit wait for them?
Not, the PVTA doesn't wait for you, the PVTA will drop you off. And then when you're done, you can call us, but we kind of more or less figure that it's going to take an hour, depending if you go in the morning, your appointment will be done in an hour. In the afternoon, the doctors get.
So somebody can get a round trip.
Oh, of course, of course. You will just call us back and said, I'm done, and then we'll send the vehicle as soon as possible. Yeah, within 15, 20 minutes, usually depends. Our peak time is when we're getting people that work back home. So it's between, 2 and 5. So during that time, it takes a little longer, but we transport a lot of people to dialysis and cancer treatment that they can no longer drive. So anyone with a disability, cognitive, physical disability. So yeah, we're here to make sure that residents have an option. And so we were happy to be able to extend the dial-a-ride into Saturday, because before, if you were senior and you don't have a disability, we can't really take you, but now we can. So it's not 2.5% year over year, it's 2.5% everybody. And you get charged the percentage of the service that you receive. We think it's more fair to do it that way. And actually, it's been done that way since PVTA was established in 1974, so we'll be celebrating 50 years.
Do you think that more people in town could take advantage of this? Do you think there's a bit of a, I don't want to say, maybe not an understanding of what PVTA can do for people in town?
Oh, yes, of course. So like I
I
said.
know the senior center does a great job of publicizing it, but not everybody goes there.
Correct. But we all get the, what's the name of the
I had no
newsletter?
idea. Don and I can get a ride to Northampton next week. For lunch, right?
The newsletter.
I'm gonna get it right.
Not you, Craig.
Is there a plan to change out the rolling stock or more efficient vehicles or
Yes.
hybrids or?
We have, currently, the buses are more of a priority because we have charging stations for the buses. We just upgraded, we have 2 chargers and each have 3 dispensers in Northampton. We have the same at UMass, 2 150 kilowatt chargers with 3 dispensers, so you can charge 6 buses. At Springfield, we just awarded a contract to swap the 6 60 kilowatt chargers to 6 150 kilowatt chargers with 3 dispensers each, so we'll be able to charge 18 buses. Right now, PVTA has 12 electric buses, And we have maybe like 15 hybrids and the rest are diesel. So the new buses that are coming this year are all hybrids. The ones that are coming next year will be hybrids. Anything after that will be electric. And we're hoping that there will be a hydrogen fueling station somewhere in the valley. I saw a proposal from one of the communities. So if that happens, then we will be looking into having that as redundancy. I heard you talk about that. If there's no electricity, then there will be no service if all the buses are electric.
Hydrogen?
Yeah, hydrogen.
Are they talking about making buses?
Oh, there's hydrogen fuel cell buses and there's hydrogen buses as well as CNG buses.
I mean, I know the CNG, I used to work on those way back in the dedealership days. I didn't know that they were going to
Yeah,
hydrogen.
they have hydrogen fuel cell. And there's, like I said, the community development office of one of the municipalities in the valley is looking into hydrogen. And if they can make it in that community, it will be a no-brainer for us because the transport of it will be very, very easy. But we want to make sure that we have some redundancy because they cannot all be electric or hybrids.
Right.
That would be a problem. But it's a little expensive to transition, so we're doing it piecemeal. So we have funding for this 18, and then the next phase is to add an additional 20 chargers at the Springfield garage. And then we will transition the paratransit fleet. There's not that many electric paratransit vehicles, but we are looking and following up with the different manufacturers to see which one is actually going to be the first one to make an electric one. And we're also looking at low floor, so the lifts, it's, kind of difficult to lift someone so high to put them in the van. So we're looking at low floors and see how they perform in the New England weather with the snow and everything, to be able to just lower a ramp and have everyone come over as opposed to put them on a lift. People get a little nervous when you're sitting on that lift and it's going up and it's shaking with the wind and all that.
Is there a plan to do a fuel cell station in Western Mass?
Hydrogen,
Yeah.
like I said, there's a proposal that one community submitted for funding, and so I'm waiting to see what happens. So if it's positive, then we will say yes, otherwise,
In Southern California, they're.
yes. But, you need a source of the fuel cell, the hydrogen,
Yeah.
where it comes from, and the fact that you don't transport it so far. Because fuel is going up. I mean, we just threw up the budget for next year, and diesel is expensive, very expensive. So you have an annual report for fiscal year '23 and all the information, the things that we've done, the technology, the grants that we have applied. I'm a firm believer, like our town manager, that if there's any grant that goes by our desk, we should apply for, because you never know, and we've been very lucky, received funding for buses, facilities, opportunities to work with the communities and get money for the communities for them to assist them in subsidizing their paratransit program, because we cannot always do all the trips. So if a community is picking up some of the trips, it's very helpful for us. We need to be able to help each other as we figure out how to transport the aging population, which is increasing, as you all know. And at some point in time, it's going to be larger than anything else. If it's not right now. I think our town has an older population as well, right?
Anything else? No? Thank you, Andrew.
No problem. Glad you guys got a good understanding of the formula.
Got a bus out here.
Well, we'll probably be seeing you quite a bit over the next couple months anyhow, so
Yes. Yes, but that's totally different, I guess.
it's money.
Yes, it is money.
Yes, it is money.
Yes, budget.
No, you guys do a great job, as always.
Thank
You're a
you.
new member and all. So, great.
Well, thank you. And like I said, if you hear of any need for any transportation or any things that you want us to bring up to you guys, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
0 Walnut Street purchase and sale.
Okay, so I give it quick. You remember CPA came before, it's Tony, remember Tony from the
Yeah,
Village?
yeah.
So his property. CPA went through the whole thing, going to the land trust adjacent to Minichog Mountain. But the family, you remember Olga, wants to know, hey, they'd like, if there's a couple trails put on there, can they be named Olga's Way and Tony's Way? That's it.
So we need
It has to be in the purchase and sale. Are we amenable to making sure the purchase and sale said that? You don't remember these people, but.
he wouldn't know these people.
Yeah.
I mean, is that, could it legally be in the purchase and sale? That
Yeah,
you have to name
yeah,
something that
sure.
way? Okay,
We're fine.
I'm fine with it. I mean, they,
yeah,
Okay, is that your motion?
that's my motion.
second.
All in
Approve the
favor?
recommendation. Yeah, fine, thank
Okay.
you. And repeat that to Jeff, Don, thank you.
Department budget submission schedule. Do you want to just set a date that they all have to get it in?
I think so.
Which day would you like?
February 1st.
So I heard we received, Dana said he got his in that.
His town report,
Oh, just the town report, not the budget?
Town report.
yeah.
Yeah. I
good,
know
though.
that I'm looking over Mark's this week, so that, and I'm sure you guys are helping with your different departments and stuff.
February,
First.
No, it's a little unrealistic. I
no,
think.
it's a Thursday.
Is it a Thursday?
Yeah, anyhow, so. Oh, it's the 12th a holiday, which one's the holiday in?
12th. No?
The 19th, I believe.
19th?
19th is President's Day.
Yep.
Okay, 20th on,
That works.
20th?
by the 20th, yeah, I'm sure someone will get it earlier then,
Budget by the February 20th.
right?
Okay,
Speaking of dates,
okay.
Don, the first is the school committee meeting. I'd like to attend, I'm sure other board members like to attend. Do you think we should post that? Only because I think is that going to be the submission and possible committee vote?
I don't know.
I think.
I can't make the first.
Craig, would you want to go? Whatever,
It's the school committee.
I asked Michelle, and she
Yeah.
says it's going to be voted on.
I mean, I may zoom in. I don't know if I'll go in person.
Okay,
I don't think we need to post, we're just
Okay.
sitting there.
Yeah, we won't have any interjection. It'll just-
no,
No,
no.
okay.
If somebody asks, do the selectmen have an opinion?
Wait,
You
well,
have your opportunity to submit to the town meeting
right.
by law.
Well, we looked it over, we gave Don our thoughts and opinions, and you presented that to the committee already.
Yeah,
So, I mean, whatever collective knowledge we had is went through Don already.
Well, no, that was the regional agreement.
other regional agreement.
What they're gonna present is what they.
Oh, the
it's a
options.
strategic-
I'm sorry.
strategic, plan, yeah. Sorry, reconfiguring the schools.
Right.
That's-
February 5th is a Monday, but I won't be available, so can we move our meeting to the 6th?
No, we want to do so many things. Craig, call me. Big agenda. Big agenda.
6th is a Tuesday.
Yeah, that works out, because I was gonna say I can't do the 5th either,
Oh, good, perfect.
so.
I wasn't invited to anything on the 5th.
We
Where are you guys going?
There's a MEMA thing that I'm going to. I don't know what Don's doing.
I know it's not golf this time. 6th is not-
Okay, the Audubon Society wants permission to go on the town land in back of Green Meadow School to count deer pellets.
I wasn't sure if they wanted to count them there, or they wanted access to their land over, through the pathway behind,
I think I want to
access
count them there too.
on the way,
Yeah.
on the way,
On the way, yeah.
whatever.
Motion,
As long as they pick it up.
There's plenty in my
step over it,
backyard,
right?
there's plenty in my backyard,
mine
probably you
backyard
see them
too.
across the street all
I
the
have tracks all
time.
through my area. So moved.
There has to be a joke in here.
favor? Aye.
Hi. I was waiting for it, that's why I started laughing.
Selectmen's reports,
So we had a good meeting at the Senior Center Building Committee today. The company involved presented, and got a pretty good dialogue going with the committee members about potential changes, things like that, really honing it down. And I think they understand that sooner is better, because the emphasis was we need a number pretty soon. We can't be coming up in April with, okay, this is the projected cost we think for this. I think people need to know earlier, so keep an aggressive meeting schedule on that. Subsequent to that, we did get I think you saw the report for the septic at the senior center, and it was fine for any expansion. But we also did get a report from DEP One is about water usage, and I think we should effort working with the police station and senior center on reducing water usage and informing them we'll do so. And that's my report.
I have nothing to report.
I have a lengthy report, it's getting late, so I'll just go quickly. The, I think I'll
So moved.
I don't know what I do with it, though. The planning committee met on February 19th, and we, the school committee asked for a recommendation. School committee asked for a recommendation on which option that they should accept, which option they should accept. In the school, the planning committee recommended option number 2, which would, what it would look like is the, bear with me here, the Mile Tree School would be K through 1, Green Meadow School would be pre-K through 5, the Stony Hills School would be grades 2 through 5 with 3 classes in each of those grades. Sewell Road would be 2 through 5 with each of those each of those classes having 4 classes in there. Thornton Burgess School would be closed. The Wilbraham Middle School would be 6 and 7. And the regional high school would be grades 8 through 12.
The 2 Wolverham schools, neighborhood schools, basically.
The 2 Wilbraham schools, neighborhood schools, and then we recommended that there was a lengthy discussion about whether they should say that the elementary students would go to, their particular town, but we decided that wasn't feasible because if there's, in the future, if there's population shifts, it essentially takes away the town lines. So Wilbraham students who are living close to the Hampden border could potentially be designated to go to a Green Meadow School if there was room there, so. The other issue that we spent, the 1 person, 1 vote rule, we decided on weighted voting. It doesn't really change the dynamic of the committee, but it keeps 5 Wilbraham people and 2 Hampden people, but the dynamic doesn't change in terms of, the vote. Vocational students, we recommended that that whether the student's a resident of Hampden or Wilbraham, that we pay the assessment based on the thing. The sticking point right now is the assessment of operational costs and capital costs. And you can do it one of 3 ways. One is the current statutory way, which we do now. Or if Wilbraham Middle School or one of the other schools becomes a regional school, that changes the capital cost thing. So that was kind of iffy. And then the state offers an alternative method, which would be you could do a 3 or 5 year rolling average. The problem with that is that the town meeting would have to vote on that every meeting, every year. So this year, we're gonna use the alternative method, and that means the school committee would have to come up with essentially 2 assessments, because if the town meeting shot down the alternative method, they would go to the statutory method. That's the law, so some discussion on that. That's the gist of it. The other things are just minor statutory changes, like
You guys going back to the
July,
start date?
going back to the start date, after as soon as the person's elected, and, things like minor, very minor.
Instead of July 1st?
Yeah, it's July 1st.
Can I ask you about that, the regional building thing? And I remember the argument 4 or 5 years ago was about the fact that, okay, if that motion had passed at town meeting, putting 6, 7, that may have been 6, 7, and 8, over middle, who's responsible for the building costs at that point? Is it now a regional school? And a lot of the arguments were, the building is still owned by the town of Wilbraham.
Right.
It's not miniature.
Right.
So how is that?
So it would have to be put into the agreement that it was a regional school. It doesn't automatically become that,
But no retroactive,
but no retroactive.
like, okay, it's regional, oh, can you help pay for something? No.
It would just be an assessment.
And at that point, I think we'd also talked a couple years ago, done exclusions. Now, they've already done the roof,
Right.
but that was gonna be excluded. Big capital things like the parking lot
Yeah,
would not be counted as a regional assessment.
right, those are
That'll
the
be a
things.
town thing.
That's what
Is
things
that being
gotta be worked
considered here
out.
too?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
things gotta be worked out. So, and also the assessment on those buildings would be based on the student population in the building, not
By residents.
by, not
By
the total,
where they live.
not the total,
Right, okay.
the total assessments by number of students. The building's capital needs would be based on the number of students in that building.
Okay, like the Minichog was supposed to be.
Right, like Minichog is supposed to be, right?
Now, you said it would just have to be in the agreement that that's a regional school.
Right.
They wouldn't have to sell it to the district?
No, they
Would
could,
operate as a regional.
they would just
basically
operate as a regional school, yeah.
Okay. So any land maintenance and stuff like that?
Would be all,
Well, that's kind of my question about the parking lot,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
What's the definition of capital at that
there's
point?
the ball fields there and stuff like that.
Right. And Doug Boyd brought that up too. He called, he spoke to me, and he said that he'd like to see a dispute resolution piece in there. So if we said, buying 50 computers isn't a capital thing, it's like buying textbooks, so. That's where we are, so it's moving forward. But the bottom line is the school committee needs to vote on all these things. They have to decide, then they present it to the selectmen of each town, and then by law, we have to put it on the warrant.
Now, is DESI after both town meetings, basically?
Right, so school committee's got to approve it, both town meetings got to approve it, DESI's got to approve it.
Are we looking for the timeline for Springtown meeting?
So they want to put it out for Springtown meeting because they think, let's say everything passes, they really won't be able to do it, not in the September,
For a full calendar
but the
year?
next time around, by the time they move,
Right.
do all their moving around and figuring that out,
Well, I think it makes sense. First off, you've got 4 months till town meeting.
Yeah,
Secondly, you're doing it at a major town meeting rather than say, oh, we'll call a special one, which
Exactly.
leads to so many questions,
Yeah.
right? And there's really, you've done the hard work. You're ready to bring it to town meeting.
yeah, they are really,
Yeah.
yeah, they got to make a decision,
Right.
so. All right, that's my report. Oh, I'm meeting with the police patrolmen's union representative on Wednesday,
Oh, this is still
this
town?
week. Tom, yeah, yeah.
Just on that topic of police real quick, just for public record, I would just want to make the public aware that if Wilbraham needs any support after the incidents this weekend, that Hampden was fully behind them and whatever they would need, and offer them any garnered things going forward. And, I think they did a good job mitigating the situations, just.
Okay.
I talked to the chief today about that.
Okay.
Town administrator
Also,
report?
good coordination on that propane incident last week. I thought the response from everybody was good. State, Westover.
Town administrator report?
Well, in the interest of time, you have my report. I just want to mention that I attended the Mass Municipal Association meeting over the weekend.
Oh,
The
yeah.
governor, lieutenant governor, both senators.
I think it was, I saw the bill, Boston Harbor Hotel, very nice, yeah.
No parties, no dinner. I went home directly after the business part of
I just want to say in regards to that, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the most important piece of legislation is
I know.
enforcement on the double poles.
Yeah, right. That's good. That's your
No,
thing, right?
her talk though was good. Her talk was good.
You had your email out there before I could get one out. There's a new piece of legislation that will, is oriented towards regulations that are problematic for cities and towns, and they're going to make some, I think, good changes. I'm not so sure where we are financially. I mean, the governor is doing 9 C cuts.
Yeah.
There may be more, but then he announced no new taxes, which everybody applauded. And then she's increasing some of the funding for some of the grant programs. So,
Isn't there still $6 billion in the rainy day fund?
well, there's plenty of money in the rainy day fund, yeah.
Now, I recall back, this had to be got done 10, 15 years ago. They cut the cherry sheet halfway through the year,
They did.
Yeah.
which is like,
And
and I did check with Becky, there are no cuts to the senior center grants.
there's none on the health, Finn sent the thing today, so
That's
that's
today, so far, so good. I think, the gravy train of the last couple of years is going to slow down at least.
Although you've been mentioning, this is probably off topic, you thought there was another round coming from the feds that's going to be out there. We talked about this a while back.
Yeah. I don't know. But I did, and the other thing I wanted to bring you, by the way, I talked to Bernie Lynch, he was there. And the comments are
Yep.
here. Here are the grant opportunities. The spigots are opened up again for federal and state programs. And what I'm going to be doing is sending you some options for some of these programs. I think the Mass Trails thing is an opportunity for the town to do something with its trails. CDBG is a tough one because only certain parts, small parts of the town will qualify for the income guidelines. But Community One Stop is a big program. That's where we got the $75,000 for the master plan, for example. And that's where we got some stuff for police equipment. And then the fiber optic grants is opening up. And so I'm going to be spending the remaining time here, putting a lot of time in two areas, trying to get these grants squared away, and then updating our grant, particularly the ARPA thing. If you look at my desk, you'll see a sheaf of paper about that thick. Jane went and pulled all the bills, all the payments under ARPA that we've done.
And that desk used to look so good.
I know.
I know.
You're doing so well.
On your point about art booth, that service is going to be April 6th, by the way. So talk about maybe
We have
proclamation
problems
or,
regarding cemetery without commissioners until tonight and without staff. I took care of one of them today. There's another one I think we can take care of. And, at least for now, until we get some kind of clerical assistance, our office here can help out individuals when they come in and need some kind of service.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Thanks, Bob.
thank you, Lauren.
Everyone.